Welcome to the first post-summer break episode of the podcast on the spot zooming in the world. My name is Jovan Jovanovic. I'm former Serbian ambassador to Indonesia and ASEAN and also former member of parliament. Today we have a very interesting topic. It's situation in Nepal, causes and consequences of the upheaval in that South Asian country. And these footages and images from Kathmandu, from the capital, went viral and attracted a lot of attention in the whole world, also in this part of the world, in Serbia, since for more than 10 months, student-led peaceful demonstrations have been happening in Serbia with any tangible results. So today I have great honor and pleasure to have as my guest my dear friend and Harvard classmate, Bhojraj Pokharel. He was a former chief election commissioner in Nepal in very turbulent times from 2006 to 2008, when in transition period, when the Maoist insurgents hadn't been incorporated into the political system, and he has held many important position, government position in business and civil sector, also in international organizations in the United Nations. And I must say that Bhojraj is one of the wisest persons I ever met. So thank you, Bhojraj, for accepting my invitation.
Oh, thank you, dear Jovan, for inviting me in your popular show. Thank you very much.
Well, let's start with the causes of the protest and the overthrow of the government. And I would just say that Nepal is, when you look at the map, it looks like a small country between the two giants, China and India. But it's a country of almost 30 million people, very ethnically diverse. There is no dominant ethnic group. Hinduism is dominant as a religion, around 80%. So please, what's your view on the causes of the what provoked these unrests and the overthrow of the government?
Well, it's a big question. However, I will try to minimize. Well, it has several dimensions. I can say the political, economic, social, and mainly the government-related issues. Youth, the way we were run, the country was run by the political leaders. The youth were highly frustrated with the dominance of the old guards or the baby groomers generation always ruling the country. In 10-year time we had the nine government led by the same old guys like a musical chair, and but the level of corruption was very much high, and the government were not transparent as the people they wish, and there was the need of the accountability, and mostly the people were tired of seeing all those old generation faces always dominating the country. And another dimension is that the lack of due to the lack of our proper employment situation within the country, millions are going out of the country for the jobs, and they feel so frustrated that they had the feeling from the past that there is no hope in this country. So that frustration, that depression, was one of the major, the boiling point at this point of time. Again, the people, the young generation, they started to question to the government through the social media, asking for the accountability and more transparency instead of correcting those bad characters. They started to take action against those people who were raising the voice through the social media. That irritate more. And by the time the youths were so frustrated, seeing that the leaders' kids, the senior leaders' kids, they were having the lavish life in different parts of the world. They were posting the photographs, and that further irritated the Nepalese youth. And they started a campaign like showing the in the name of the Nepo kids, Nepo babies, their activities, exposing them and questioning them. Your fathers or your mother, they take the bribe and they are enjoying your life with our money, with our stolen money. Those are the stories. Yeah. And all these things were going on. All of a sudden, the government, instead of managing the social medias, abruptly they closed down 26 social media sites, which were the backbone of the society these days, whether it is the housewife or farmer or entrepreneur or the youth or the people, millions of people who were out of the country to the families, those were the connection dot that irritate, that become like the that ignite the whole thing. And all of a sudden, the Gen Z generation, just 2 3 days early back, they started this momentum. Oh, this is the time, let us pressurize the government, let us do some protest. And mainly, they had three intentions, that they had declared it. Number one, the government should immediately open the social medias so that the people can enjoy it. Number two, uh, all those corrupt practices and the corrupt people, they have to book under the legislation, so that they have to be deal accordingly. And there should be transparency in the level of the government and the accountability. They demand the accountability. And thirdly, their demand was that since country was every year 2 years the government was changing, so let us have a directly elected head of the government, so that at least he or she can run the country for 4 or 5 years. That can give some stability. So those are the core demand. The youth, they in the social media, even before starting the protest and marching toward the parliament, they make the commitment that these are our demands, and we will go on peacefully, will not force anything, will not destroy any properties. Yeah, will be very much disciplined. That's the way they started the momentum. And the gradually the momentum became violent. Yeah, so these are the fundamental basic tenets, are the factors that how the things get worst. You know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned this Generation Z, and but what forces were behind the protest? Not only Generation Z. I think it's oversimplified to say that only they were only forced to be behind the protest. And but yes, youth is Nepal is a very young country. I think almost 40% of the population is younger than 25 years. And there is a high unemployment rate also among youth. I think it's around 20%. You also mentioned the huge diaspora and cutting ties with them when cutting social networks, social media. It's a few million people, and mostly I think in India that the biggest diaspora is in India. But are there also some other forces behind this protest? There are also the supporters of the former king. I would like to remind our viewers that the monarchy, after 240 years, if I'm not wrong, has been abolished in 2008. So, and also the way that these protests were developing, that was the difference between the first and the second day. And only in the second day, I think that the army intervened, and after all these institutions were burned, and even the students and the youth, they were against that. They didn't support such actions.
Well, actually, what happened, once the youth they started their protest program,
Hmm.
gradually, so many other, the
Joined.
group of the people they joined,
Hmm.
because really people were tired of all these old guards.
Hmm.
They were very much, frustrated. So that the various group they joined gradually, and once they were close to the parliament, because there was the understanding, because they had take the permission from the administration to have that demonstration earlier. So there were few agreements with, which are the points, and the demonstrator will not cross that border. That was the
Hmm.
understanding. The security was accordingly. However, the mass became so huge that the security were not able to control. even the youths were not able to control to the people to that agreed point. So continue to do the march to the parliament building, and the target became the parliament building, and they started to cross the damage the the compound and go inside, and people were going up down and throwing all those things, and that created a momentum that instead of even the government, I think the security sector was also not prepared to deal. They didn't imagine that this level of demonstrator will be there,
Mhm.
so that they were prepared, poorly prepared. It looks that. So instead of going the thorough security process, using the cannon, using the batons, using the so many other things. Uh, but they, the security sector, they opened the fire, and 19 youths, they lost their life
Yes.
on that day. Yeah, so that's the happen. The youth were on that, but once the that chaos happened in the parliament building, there were more than the youth. All those people who were interested, who had some, who had the reservations, who are not, happy with the government and the state affairs. So all those forces came together, and that, shared event happened. And
Mhm.
even on that evening, when that 19 people were shot and many other hundreds of people were in the hospital, instead of saying the sorry by the government and consoling to their families, the prime minister, he used the irritating words that annoyed more to the people. And uh, and gradually what happened, that they built up the whole night, and instead of opening the he didn't open this social medias, and that more irritate to the people. They were using that time Instagram was open, and and that's the way, the second day built up. The second day, everybody won't come. The people, there might there probably it is anticipated that there were the criminals, because the jail was a break, the criminals kick them out.
Mhm.
And the vested interest of those people whose files were in the anti-corruption bodies, various people had interest on the court, you know destroying the court, all the records. It so happened on 24th that nobody has imagined that the whole country was under the fire. And the second day, more than youth, more than the Gen Z, there were the other elements. Those elements may come from various sectors, including that you were indicating.
Mhm.
Yeah, those people who are not happy with the change. It becomes such a chaos that within the 48 hours, the government was toppled down, and finally the army came on the street on the ninth evening. The president, he dissolved, agreed to dissolve the parliament, and all the things become so, so fast that nobody has imagined. And I cannot imagine, the way within what the youth can do.
Mhm. So, what is the current situation in Nepal after literally dust has settled in Kathmandu? There is a new interim prime minister, interim government. What their competences would be and the major challenges. You already mentioned the dissolution of parliament, which was met with criticism, and there are also calls to investigate the protests. And the early election should take place in March next year.
Well, once the beginning was such a, so confusion. Nobody, because this protest was not conducted by any political party. There was no any leader, so that to whom to negotiate. how to negotiate. All this, crucial time was there. However, we were able to negotiate and have the new prime minister in place. Right now, she is expanding the cabinet more or less. There are few seats, but she is trying hard to, and the government is trying to normalize the life of the people. And the government has announced that the elections will be within the 6 month period or in March, and they just in a form a commission under the chairpersonship of a former judge to investigate the cause and effect and the responsible who are the responsible for this total human right abuse and destruction of the property, and we'll be waiting to on that report. And similarly, another demand of the protester was about the taking the action against the corrupt people, because we have the constitutional framework. Within that framework, we have the this commission to investigate the corruption, anti-corruption cases. It is difficult to establish another commission, because that is beyond the constitutional mandate. So the tightrope, the striking balance between the demand of the people which are beyond the constitution, which the present government cannot address. And another thing is that again the protesters' demand was not to dilute through the constitution. They were looking for the man, all this solution through the constitution. So it is very tight rope. Yeah, it's very difficult in striking the balance. So that now the government is trying to negotiate and hand over quick investigation, hand over those cases to the established commission, and dispose as quick as possible.
Mhm.
And now you are talking about the major challenge of the government. There are, five, four
Yeah,
major challenges.
but if
Number
I
one,
may ask you before going to major challenges, how was the government elected since the parliament has been dissolved?
well,
What was the
well,
way and why the person of prime minister has been chosen to be the
well,
interim prime minister?
what happened is that, the guy, the prime minister, and other top leaders, they were taking surrender in the army barrack.
Hmm.
And the prime minister was forced, he resigned. Until and unless he resigned, army did not come up in the street.
Hmm.
So on the 24th evening, the prime minister resigned, and the army marched, and army marched on the street. And from the 25th, situation get gradually normal. Yeah, the whole destruction happened within the 24th. Yeah, a little bit on the 25th also, but however, so once parliament once the parliament resigned, according to the constitution we need the parliament to make another government. But the protesters' demand was to dissolve the parliament, because they don't like to see the continuation of that parliament. So the president, with the extraordinary power, which is not spelled out in the constitution, however, seeing the context to normalize the country has to be run. He appointed a prime minister which was chosen by the Genji population. But
By
again, the
online
Genji.
vote?
Huh?
By online vote?
Online, yeah, they make the few choices, and they make the online vote, and finally she got the highest vote, and she was chosen as the prime minister.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that's the way. So now we don't have the parliament, and we have the constitution. There are many things that we have to follow the constitution, and there are the demands that beyond the constitutional provisions. So it is very difficult situation, as I mentioned. So again, going back to the challenges, number one, taking the confidence of all the stakeholders is the major challenge, because we have the old parties. They are there. They are in the majority. They have a very strong base. And there are the new generation, and they have own demands of how to take the confidence of all stakeholders. And also the second thing is that now the election is declared for March, and we need to bring all the political forces in the election process. If all the political forces are not in the election process, again it will be another crisis. So bringing all the political forces in the election process, including the old and the new, and addressing the demand of the protesters. Is I indicated you earlier that some demands are beyond the constitutional boundary. How to negotiate with them and convince with them that to manage all these things. And another big problem is the restoring the law and order in the country, and how to how to bring back the more the demoralized force. Police force is highly demoralized because almost all their buildings are destroyed, their arms are not in the place, they have no their dress, all so this is such a very pathetic situation. So how to bring their confidence up, and also finding the large resources. We need a huge resource, to though it is a long-term agenda. However, for the quick, also we need some resources. So managing the resource, and also how to keep the Gen Z, because the Gen Zs, they are different divided groups. How to interact them, how to bring together, and how to uh, take their confidence, and also not them to get more frustrated because they don't have the tolerance, long tolerance. So these are the fundamental challenges, with this government. So the main thing again, that within the weeks, within the 1 week, plus the old guards, they have already come up on the street. Now the people are after that, if they can, take the revenge to the protesters, to the Gen Z, because they have their own cadre. So, these are the things that people are feeling unsafe because the criminals are outside, those are outside, and all these things are the challenges with the government. So let us be hopeful that they will be able to manage something.
Hmm. So, so what are the major expectations of the next year elections, and shall some new political forces emerge, especially originating from this protest from the youth, from Gen Z? And will then all these traditional forces, political forces, this three mainstream parties will be forced to renew, to change their leadership?
Well, it's a big agenda. Anyway, in the election, to manage the election within the 6 month time, now it is 5.5 months is left. There are the, legal, political, security, logistical, various challenges are there. If those issues are settled on time, election management is not the problem because we have the professional election commission. But we need certain legislation to be reviewed so that the Gen Z group can come to the election. So bringing them in the election process, they are willing to come also. So that that needs certain level of legislation, and also. The other challenge is bringing all the political forces, major political forces, in the election. And now, within those political forces, we are seeing the infighting that the main leaders still, their mindset is that they will continue their leadership. And within the political parties, they are now with the new generation youths who are the change makers, they are coming aggressively out and asking to review the structure of the political parties, its policies and leadership, so that we can go with the new face in the election. However, the leaders and their cronies, who are in power, who are in the in majority, they are not willing to relinquish their power. So there is a very much difficult time to the old political parties, and how they will come up, how they will manage it. That's another challenge. And to your question, that I am sure that the Gen Z, they have some division. Still, one faction is telling that we have to go to the parliamentary election. Another faction is telling no, 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 we have to go to the direct parliamentary election. Head of this government election. If go to the election for the head of the government, again we need the constitutional amendment. For the constitutional amendment, we need the parliament. So it's such a egg and chicken crisis. So that probably the country will go to the parliamentary election, because there are, and the rest, that will be given to the new coming parliament to decide about the future agendas.
Mhm.
That's the way the things will go on. Uh, now there is one demand from the some certain section, that the election commission, which is trusted by the old guards, and that needs to be changed, and we need the new people. That demand is also coming. However, again, constitutionally, it is very long process to bring the new guy, to change this guy. They cannot remove them, because they are constitutionally they are protected. And so how to manage this demand, and how to take the confidence of all on that part also. These are some of the challenge, in addition to the logistic issues within the election commission and the security sector.
Mhm. And I would appreciate if we can conclude our conversation with foreign policy aspect of the crisis in political crisis in Nepal. What is the position of the great powers in the region, mostly China and India, also the US, towards this political situation, the new political reality? India has been naturally the center of gravity, not only in the whole South Asia, not only to Nepal but also to other smaller countries in the region, and how this situation could possibly affect the situation in other countries in the region. We had previous experiences with changes in Sri Lanka, also in Bangladesh. So which way also will Nepal go?
Okay, Nepal is in a little bit, tricky situation, because, we lie between the two giant nations. Yeah. So that, we have to maintain good relation with the both neighbors. Yeah. So, we are happy to note that, all three powers that we talk about, India, China, and the US, are the Western power. They congratulated this government, and they have, committed that they will continue to support, to stabilize the context. So that is one good point. So well, there could be the interest and desire from different sectors, from different angles. However, in my understanding, though they have varied interest, however, stable Nepal is their priority, all the three countries you are naming. Yeah. So because of that, I am hopeful that we can manage our affairs within ourselves, with the very kind cooperation of the international communities, including our neighbors. And so far, but talking about its effect in South Asia and globally, what I am observing, from the social media, that some protests are already started in in different cities, and they are taking the example of Nepal youth. You see how Nepal youth can do, why cannot do? And the same slogan, and the placard I saw in the Indonesian movement also, and recently, it means the South Asia has been the champion in, whether we talk about the Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or Nepal, how quickly, the changes has been bring within the limited time, without the imagination of anyone. So, definitely, what I can assume that this Nepal 40-hour movement that bring a big change in the country, that will have global effect, not only in South Asia, but globally it can be a lesson. And the major takeaway or the lessons that I think from Nepal youth movement is that youth, they will remain silent. However, if their aspirations are not timely addressed, they can make any change. So that you have to listen to the Gen Z. You have to understand their feelings, and you have to understand their wish, and you have to make your change mind accordingly to run the country. So these are the lessons I think the globally people can take from Nepal.
I think it's a perfect way to conclude our conversation. Is there anything else you would like to add in the end?
Well, I hope, my prayer is that the Nepal will, we have been champion in changing every 10 years. For the last, second decade, this is the seventh, big change in Nepal. We are seeing the change. This is the seventh constitution within the 7 decades. We have, so I am hopeful that at least at the moment, our old guards, they have not realized at the moment, but I am hopeful that they will take the lessons from it, and they will, hand over their authority to the newer generations, and they will take, the rest in their life, being as a guardian. So I prayed with the God, and I am demanding it from last several years, in the country. I'm in speaking, in writing. I was asking them that you will see these days. If you don't listen on time. But they didn't listen. Now they are facing it. So let's be hopeful that globally the leadership will take the lesson from Nepal, so that none other countries get this level of destruction by the youth force, or in the name of the youth force, other interested groups will have the opportunity to destroy the country. So it is better to prevent than to reprimand it in the future.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's a perfect way to finish our conversation. I also hope that Nepal would have a very smooth and successful transition, and that it would serve as an example to the rest of the world, how the changes could be brought about.
Sure, thank you. Sure, because we have crossed on transitions, so many transitions. So that is, I am hopeful that we will peacefully manage this transition also. Let us pray and let us be hopeful. Thank you very much giving the
Thank you
opportunity
again,
to have this
Bhojraj.
conversation.
All the best.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.